Here we go. Hey, what's going on? 93.7 The Ticket. I'm your host here, Niko Schultz, and this is Kael Miedema from South Dakota. He's a B-Law major, thrower here at the University of Nebraska Lincoln, a freshman. And as you can see here, he has a little boot on his foot. Unfortunately, he came down with an injury within his first 3 months coming here to the University of Nebraska. But Kael is one of the coolest guys I know, man. He's always in high spirits. He's had a legendary high school career that's led him to get here to this point at the University of Nebraska. And today I'm planning on sharing his story with you guys to find some inspiration for it, and then also so that 2 or 3 years down the road, when this boot's finally off and this man's breaking a bunch of records, he can look back on this and see how far he's come and his progress. So, Kael, man, how you feeling about being on the podcast today?
It's great. I've heard a lot of good things about this podcast. I mean, I've been on one, and that was kind of a weird experience. And this is a little bit less
A little
formal
more
than the other
professional.
one.
True,
Yeah.
true. But
No, it's still. I'm excited to be on this.
no, of course, man, of course. I want people to understand your story and where you come from. So if you don't mind, go ahead and backtrack us on, where you come from and what got you into the sport of track and field.
Well, physically, I come from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, about 3.5 hours north of here. Spiritually, I come from a hardworking Northern European family. I mean, we've always put our nose to the grindstone, and when we set our minds to something, we set our minds out to do it right.
Right.
And I guess that's kind of what got me into throwing, because I just saw all these intricate pieces that you put together to making this beautiful throw, and that just was so attractive to me.
Man, I've never heard somebody articulate their words so gracefully, bro, for the art of throwing. I mean, throwing and running and track and field, there's so many different moving parts and events that go into it. And this is probably the one event that's most foreign to me is throwing, obviously, with my 5'10", 150-pound frame. But for you, man, I'd love to, on this podcast today, learn what it takes to become an elite thrower. So before we get to that point, though, I want you to talk about a little bit about what got you into throwing at this type of level. I mean, obviously, you started when you were a kid. You worked your way up through the ranks, scholarship. Kind of give us a little rundown of how you got to where you're at today.
Well, originally, I had no intent of being a thrower
Really?
up until about end of my junior year of high school.
No
I
way.
didn't even throw until sophomore year, and that was just for football. Originally, I
Really?
was going to play football. You know, a lot of mid-major D1 schools contacted me, Ivy League stuff. It was just like, you can't really fake football in
Yeah.
college. Like, you got to have a passion for it, and I just didn't. But after my sophomore year, I saw that I was like, I'm kind of good at throwing.
Right.
So I said, I'm going to run with it. I learned the spin. Took me about a year. Junior year, I was throwing 60 feet, and Coach St. Clair reached out to me, and that was about it. I mean,
Really?
he's about the only coach I really wanted to listen to, because
Right.
he knows what he's talking about.
Exactly. And by that point, was Coach St. Clair already here, or was this when he was still at his old school down in North Dakota, right? North Dakota is where he came
Yeah,
from?
I think I first reached out to him when he was at North Dakota,
Gotcha.
and then it was kind of like there was pretty good signs that he was coming here, and I was like, oh, Nebraska's a little bit more suited to me compared to NDSU.
Yeah. I mean, you're a South Dakota kid yourself. I mean, what separated Nebraska from the other universities? Obviously, Coach St. Clair coming here obviously helped, but with your marks, you could have gone anywhere in the nation. Why Nebraska?
Really, it was just St. Clair.
Really?
UNL's always had such a historic throwing program, and
100%.
I wanted to include myself in this and be St. Clair's little mold and let him do whatever he wants with me and make me into a national champion.
Yeah, that's the goal, man. If you don't mind talking a little bit more about that, about what it means to be under one of the best throwing coaches in the entire nation, arguably the best, and the way that he's changed his program around. I mean, how much trust do you have in Coach St. Clair and his philosophy here at the university?
100%. If he told me to jump off a bridge, I'd probably do it. You know, I'd probably regret it in the end, but I mean, just everything he says just clicks. He makes elite throwers. You
Right.
saw that at Big Tens. You're probably going to see it at nationals.
Right.
You know, some of the throwers are out, some of them are redshirting, but I mean, I think next year's going to be scary.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be scary too. And so back to the elephant in the room, obviously the boot. Go ahead and walk us down the injury, what happened, and just the overall your thought process on it.
October 23rd of last year, sounded like the best practice of my life. Like, it was crazy. I was
What?
throwing like 18-pound shot out like 56 feet. I was looking good.
Yeah.
I was throwing with the veteran group. It was all looking good, and then the one throw that St. Clair recorded, I broke my foot. Dislocated, and fractured my foot.
So like, were you spinning and it just stayed in the same place, or how does that even happen?
Well, it was like, when you reverse, you
Yeah.
like catch with your foot. I caught it, but my foot was like kind of slanted up.
Yeah.
All my weight came down. The first three metatarsals completely fractured.
Wow.
Fourth one just dislocated, and then the cuboid bone got fractured.
Wow. And so, on average, how long does it take for this exact injury to heal?
Usually a Lisfranc fracture could be like, my doctor described it that there's 3 different flavors. There's chocolate, there's chocolate, vanilla, and then Rocky Road.
I like this. Okay.
Chocolate would be like, it's pretty tame, you just broke your foot. It's going to take a couple months just for the bone to heal. The best would be like vanilla. You just dislocated it, got to kind of move it back into place, let the tendons and cartilage heal. I got Rocky Road, which is like the worst thing you could do to that area of your foot besides just having it get cut off.
Right.
So it's been 5.5 months. I've got another about 3 months.
3 months until you're off that boot?
No, I'm out of the boot on Tuesday.
Tuesday off?
I'll be walking, but then it's about another month until I can start like getting up on my toes. Another month until I'm like running and jumping, and then just gotta be able to support my body weight before I'm throwing again.
I agree. So obviously we talked about the physical toll. Go ahead and talk to us about like the mental toll and the spiritual toll. I mean, obviously there are freshmen that come in and it's a lot and they get hurt. I was one of them, for example. I'm not sure if you knew this, but I was in a boot. I had a fracture in my shin my freshman year, so I know exactly what you're going through. Not to this extent though, because obviously you broke your foot. Mine was just fractured. Go ahead and talk to us about how you've been recovering from that and how you wake up every single morning and still are motivated to get after it and chase your dreams, even with this boot on.
Honestly, I have no idea. I have no idea how this didn't take me down a darker path. It's like I've seen the negative effects of injuries on even my own brother. Like he was a great football player and he dislocated a shoulder and he never really got out of it. But
right.
I think I had maybe a week where I had one night where I actually cried.
Yeah.
A week where I was down, and then after that I was like, you got 2 options. This is going to heal regardless.
Right.
It's either are you going to look at it negatively or positively? Are you going to approach it with the mindset that this happened for a reason, God did this to me, and I have a chance to show him that I'm going to overcome this, climb over this wall, and land on the other side on both feet? Or you can just keep running into that wall, just keep thinking negatively like, man, why this happened to me?
Exactly.
Why did I deserve this? And I did think that, but I overcame that, and I'm ready to prove why this did happen to me and what I'm going to learn from this.
Exactly. I mean, I think you hit it best, man. I mean, you could either be down and depressed about it for a very long time and let it define your career, or you can make it the reason why you become so successful, so that when you are, like I mentioned before how I started out this podcast, 2-3 years down the road, able to look back at this video, it's like, man, I was in a boot and I'm a 2-time, 3-time national champ, like everything that I ever dreamed of. And so, man, I just gotta say, this is crazy because I was in the same position you were, man. Like when I first got hurt, I was the same thing. I was down to the dumps for like a week, and it was like, all right, what type of person do I want to be? What type of athlete do I want to be? And so, where do you get that mindset from? Because for me, I kind of had to adapt that. I got that from like the people I hang around with. My parents, for example, they motivated me to keep going. What about you?
Probably a familial thing. My family's very stone cold, very monotone. We don't express much emotion. So, and I've had injuries. I've torn my Achilles. I've had knee surgeries. So I've kind of learned how to get used to that. And it's just been like the support staff here, the friends I surround myself with, Coach St. Clair, Coach Matty Nils, all my teammates. They've just been there for me. They've never let me fall into some sort of darkness because they've always just been there to pick me up, even if I did kind of start to slide.
Exactly. Like you said, there's no other place that you would rather be than here. Coach St. Clair with some of the best throwers in the nation. So let's backtrack a little bit to your high school career. So you mentioned that you started late junior year, somewhere around there. It took you a year, sophomore, junior year. Finally got to spin down after a year. Go ahead. What went into your training in high school that made you a standout athlete from the rest of the throwers in the nation?
Training wise, I mean, I didn't really do too much different. I just kind of did my football lifting.
Yeah.
Our coach was big into Olympic lifting, so that probably helped get a little explosiveness out of the leg.
Right.
But it was mainly just like I put in that time that not a lot of people are willing to put in. Every night after practice, my coach started to hate me by the end of the year because I'd have her stay an extra hour and a half when everyone else left.
Right.
Like most people are like, I'm going to go do a few power throws, go do a few spins, and then I'm going to call it a day. But there's so much more that goes into throwing that people don't realize. Like, it's not just throwing. You got to be an athlete to throw. you can't just go out there and expect to be strong and throw far.
Right.
It takes being able to move through the ring. You're moving a 16-pound ball. You gotta be able to move it well.
Right. I never heard nobody describe it like that. You got to be an athlete to be able to throw, because if you're ever looking at it from the outside in, or if you don't know track and field, you just think, man, that guy's pretty strong. But break that down a little bit for the viewers out there about what it actually means to be an athlete as a thrower.
Well, I mean, I think the best example is Ryan Krauser.
Yep.
You know, world record holder, and he's broken his old world record like 3 times, I think. He has like a 40-inch vertical, can get out of a 40-yard dash out of the blocks, and like a 4.5, 4.6.
That's disgusting.
I mean, he's
That's a large human.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like your typical athlete. He isn't shredded. He doesn't have a six-pack, but he's built.
Right.
He's built like a brick shithouse. That's what my grandpa would say.
Right. Right. And is that the person you look up to track-wise, your inspiration for throwing, or who you see yourself most like becoming in the future?
I mean, it's hard to say not to. I don't like comparing myself to big idols, because then when you set yourself up to fail, you're probably going to fail.
Right.
But like, I do have the height like him, and he's always been such a hard worker. It's hard not to want to model yourself after him.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And going into your personal life too, how do you separate all of the work that you put into track and all the time and effort and energy that goes into it versus your personal life? I mean, you did mention that you're a business law major. Was it B law major?
Yeah, business and law.
Business and law.
Yeah.
And then, you got your personal life, your friends, your family to take care of. I mean, how much of that personality bleeds into your personal life of track and field? Like, how do you turn off Kael the thrower versus Kael the normal guy I always see laughing at training table?
I think it just kind of blends in. I mean, I've never really noticed a switch between my personalities. I kind of sitting right here, I'm thinking about throwing. That's another part. It's like,
yeah.
Throwing is, you got to work on the technique, but you also got to think about the technique. You got to imagine yourself in that ring. That's the thing that's probably going to help me the most, is that I have been visualizing that technique every day. Just once I get back in the ring, it may not look pretty at first, but I feel like being able to kind of mend my business and personal life together,
right,
will help me in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that visionary aspect is so important as an athlete too. I mean, I feel like this time period, let's say it is 8, 9, 10 months that you're out of this, all you're going to be thinking about is just like, all right, when I get back, I'm going to do this. It makes you, they say that distance helps make the heart grow fonder. And I felt that as an 800-meter runner, like when I was off my legs for 4 months, dude, I didn't know what to do with myself. And I'm a real energetic person. You mentioned that, where you come from, that there's not much emotion shown. For me, it's the complete opposite. My mom, my family, Puerto Rican, dad's white, but like he's out there. So like I'm always jittery, moving around, always on the go. And so when I had to be a little bit sedentary for a while with his boot and his crutches, I was like, what do I do with myself? And then now that I'm here and back healthy, I never want to lose that again. And I also want to remind you too that like you're on the right path, bro. Like trust me, like when I was hurt, like I thought it was an end all be all, but then once I was out and like that there was light at the end of the tunnel, it was literally the best thing ever. And like you're never gonna forget that feeling too, what it feels like to finally be back and healthy, especially after all you've been through.
Yeah.
So next part I want to go into is what are your goals? Go ahead and walk us through your marks that got you here to the university, and then go ahead and talk about a little bit about what your goals are for the future once you're back.
Like just my PRs in high school.
Yeah.
I threw about 65 feet. I guess 65 I scratched, and then I threw 64.8 at nationals last year. I threw 196.5 and discus twice. I never really PR'd. I mean, I went all of last year. I threw between 190 and 200. Besides one meet where I threw 127, and I don't like talking about that meet.
No way.
That was a bad meet, but I always thought that like consistency is scary. And when I was throwing 190 to 200, it was like, man, I'm itching for a PR. And that's a thing I've got to learn, is that you're not always going to PR. And that's something that Coach St. Clair really preaches. That's not if, it's when.
Right.
Like you see some people who've gone like 1,000 days without
Yep.
PRing, and then they finally get it, and it's just such a weight off your shoulders.
I know. I think, what was it the other day, one of our jumpers, it took him 1,800 days.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like I'm mad if I don't PR.
5 years.
Yeah, right, with 5 weeks, a month, after training hard for one fall, but 1,800 days, that's almost 3 years.
Yeah.
I think that is 3 years. I can't really do math right now. It's
Definitely
way
over
over 3 years. Hold on.
Over 3, under 5. I know that much.
Oh my, so it's over 4. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. So, and then goals for college.
I mean, within the next year, I want to at least go to Big Tens.
Right.
I want to go Big Tens. I want to go to Nationals. I want to be the best I can be. You know, I want to take all the potential that I've been given and output that. You know, I don't want to waste any potential because I have. I've always been a step behind because I've always been injured. So I want to be able to get out of this and take that step forward and then take another step forward and another step forward and just output every ounce of potential that Coach St. Clair can get out of me, that I can get out of me, that my teammates can get out of me, that God can get out of me. I just want to put that on the floor and just show out.
Day by day. I mean, you're doing it right now, the way you speak and the way that you carry yourself. You're already doing that and you're making the most out of your current situation. Obviously, with the boot, you can't run around, you can't do your technique, but you can still practice, still envision, and still get excited for the future and what's to come. And that leads me into kind of our final talking point is, what do you want to do in the future post-collegiately? Post-collegiate, do you have any plans, aspirations? I know you're still young, you're still 19 years old, haven't even turned 20 yet. Have you thought about that a little bit, or?
Throwing wise, I've never really thought about a professional career. I mean, if I got the opportunity presented to me, I'd definitely take it. But
Right.
like, if I don't see that I'm going to be a, you know, plus 21 meter thrower, and I'm just going to kind of be like a 19, 20 meter thrower, and I'm never really going to get that far, then it's like I don't really want to go pro and spend all that time to not be up there. I know it sounds kind of like selfish, but it's just I've always kind of realized that track isn't a huge moneymaker, and going pro isn't going to break the bank. But if I got the opportunity presented to me, I'd definitely ride it as long as I could.
100%. And then with the career?
Business-wise, I've wanted to go into private wealth management or being like a insurance banker. Or if I go into law, I'd go into corporate or immigration law.
Really? Corporate? What motivated you to go into corporate immigration law?
Corporate law, money. Immigration law, corporate law is more for the wallet, and immigration law is more for the heart, or environmental law. I mean, I chose law because if you look at my ACT scores, you can see that I'm not destined to be a mathematician or scientist.
Hey, likewise, same here. So, yeah, awesome, Kael. Well, hey, with everything you've been through and everything you're going to achieve in the future, do you have any words of inspiration for somebody or people who want to be in your same position one day or accomplish the thing that you've accomplished in the past? You can say it right now. If not, you can forever hold your peace.
I guess you just got to stay the course. There's going to be days that things aren't going to work out, and there's going to be days where it really works out. And, you just got, it's like a roller coaster. You're going to have these, and you're going to have these, but in the end, you're just going to keep ending up and down until you end up here.
Exactly.
And you just got to be able to take those ups and those downs in stride.
In stride. I don't think I couldn't have said any better, man. 100%. So, Kael, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you coming on this podcast today, and I'm super excited to hear your story in the future, dude.
Yeah, thanks, Niko.
So, of course, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Kael. Stay tuned for the near future because this man's going to do big things. Let's go. Perfect. 18.